What's up, y'all? This is your boy Gerald. How is everybody doing? There are a few words, a few subjects that I try to use my discernment before I speak on them, because I understand that at a minimum, words have power, and depending on where you are in your life, it can have not only an impact, but it also can disturb your direction. But as I always like hearing from every one of you, first of all, how you doing? You almost finished with your week. I hope you are grounding your feet, sidestepping the negative, and placing God first. Why? Because you're unique, you're blessed, and there will never be another you. So at a minimum, it is your responsibility to protect your legacy by first investing in you. Do you know who you are? Because when you're able to answer that question, you'll also know what inner peace is all about. Oh, yes, because it's about being transparent. Real recognizes real, right? And you deserve to be happy. But this contradicts the title of this video, because unfortunately, to live on this planet, to be part of not only your society, but to truly have balance in who you are, unfortunately, everything has to balance itself out. And unfortunately, you're going to go through things. Sometimes it's to break up being stagnant, as well as to usher in growth. But let's get to the meat of the title. Yes, you read it. And I believe that I have the ability to properly give this video the justice it deserves, because I don't have to tell you how many times you have to look on social media or see it on the 6 o'clock news or hear about a word of mouth of someone that is going through betrayal. You know, that's something that you wouldn't wish on your worst enemy, but it still is prevalent today. No one is exempt. That's why it's very important to not only embrace your discernment, but also be able to tap into your insight, which makes your wisdom. Now that I got that out of the way, because I know there's somebody that's going to find this video, and at the end of the day, is you want the pain to stop, and you want to understand. You want to find what is the best way to deal with what we know is cheating, which is nothing but betrayal anyway. So I'm going to work with you and give you these tidbits, and I hope that you're able to apply them. Because if you choose not to, guess what? You have just allowed your tears, your emotions, and the side effects of not being grounded to be in vain. And that's not the case, right? All right, so let's go there. Excuse me. Gerald, I've been cheated on. Now what? What do I do? First thing you're going to have to decide is, how much is your worth? Did you hear me? How much do you value your life? Because unless you can answer that question, you will not be able to have the proper decisions needed and how to act from them. See, we can easily stay in a low frequency and be reactionary. We see it all the time. There's always someone's mother, someone's dad, well, correction, someone's daughter, someone's mother, someone's auntie, someone's grandmother that feels that because they've been wronged, the same wrong is justified. But do you realize that it's the same tactic that the devil uses? Because until you decide to ground your feet, you are vulnerable, not only on a spiritual sense, but on a physical sense. And I don't have to remind you, because every day there's somebody that's not waking up today. Perfect song. So you got to ask yourself, do I value me? Now, for some people, they think it's all about having a strong chin and having a fake shield. And they turn around and use deflection to mask the pain. But guess what? That pain is spiritual. For somebody. So I don't wish this on nobody. I don't. But unfortunately, this happens every day. Right now, there's somebody that is waking up, coming home, or happen to see things that were hidden by distraction. You've already known that there was a imbalance in your environment because the first thing that went out the door was the communication. Now, this is supposed to be your better half, right? So we have to be honest to identify when and how the communication broke down. And just to segue from that, this also will let you know if you're yoked to it. But Gerald, he cheated on me. So what am I supposed to do? The very first thing you need to do is you got to keep your head. Because if you turn around and act from emotion, you're going to set your life back. Which means you're going to have to come out your pocket. Because you're going to have to fix, replace things that were done out of aggression. Can't do that. Now, I understand some of you have chosen to say, well, you know what? It was all good yesterday, Joe, but, we've been living together. We got this home. That's not a home, family. It's not a home until you have that ring on your finger and your name is changed. That is true. Because at the least, that shows that commitment or the tools needed to sustain that relationship is at least it's in place. The first brick is there. But you can't build nothing without having a connection with yourself. That's why it's very important to have a spiritual base. Not your stick mate. Not your girlfriend. Because some of y'all may be going through this right now. Right now, you need a shoulder to lean on. And every person that you choose to turn to or to confide in, it doesn't make the pain go away. Now, does it? So I would recommend for that person, instead of allowing your heart to be vulnerable, because there are some people that have been waiting for this moment in your life to occur so that they can pray, how about manipulate your choices. I would recommend to you just $1. That's right. A $1 investment Go on down to your Dollar Tree. Go get your little composition book. If you don't want to go down to the Dollar Tree, go on over to your little Wally World. We know that's Walmart. Get your little notebook and sit down and start writing. Start writing. You start writing. Allow your emotions to have a voice. Because see, you don't need anybody's permission to feel better. That is something that you must do. The question is, will you? Because far too many times, what ends up happening? Someone takes the life of the other, and in by default, ends up spending their life behind bars, or ends up losing their lives too. So now, 2 lives are gone. For what? Pride and ego? No. So what do you need to do? You need to love yourself. Because I'm going to tell you what, until you decide to love yourself, your environment will not change. It will sustain. And that is why misery loves company. And that is why you see a repetitive cycle, as we know, is a generational curse of the same behavioral outcomes. So if anything, you've got to focus on keeping your sanity, because this is a time where spiritual attacks do their most work. Oh yeah. When the stuff hits the fan, you're not in your right mind. And that's when you should ask yourself, your support system, do they truly have your best interests? Because if they don't, guess what? They're going to have a field day at your expense. Why? Because they should have never heard you breathe. Now, let's go back. If you're in a situation where you got a place together, number one thing to do is to protect your dignity. Remove yourself. Remove yourself from the environment. That way, this gives you an opportunity to clear your head and look at things with clear, concise view. But as long as you have the emotional triggers there, the hurt will not go away. It will intensify. And I'm telling you this for a reason, y'all, because I did that. I did the opposite, like so many people, because people have lapses of judgment, but at the end of the day, we have to look at it this way too. At the end of the day, no one can make you do what you want. No one can make you do what you don't want to do. That's right, Kings. It doesn't matter how deep your pockets is, how deep your stroke is, who you know, and what you bring to the table. If it does not have your heart connected to it, it'll never have your foundation. Why? Because you're connected to a person that has the same traits as you. We are what we attract. And I have to say that because somebody's like, well, I don't agree, Gerald, because I was loyal. Yeah, but look at the times you were not. So you got to really be honest with yourself and call it what it was. Were you simply dating, or were you in a relationship? Because a lot of people don't want to give credit where credit should be. Dating is, she lives over there, you live over there, and you come together and you grow. In a relationship is you're under a roof. You're paying bills together. And you should have a vision of marriage. But see, we go through relationships like changing shoes, only to set our lives back, only to watch your blessing be benefited to someone else. Because that's how God do. That's all God does. Now, lastly, if you are in a situation where you are sharing a residence with someone, and you don't believe that maybe financially you're not able to remove yourself, then you're going to have to be really strategic. Maybe even ask to stay with a loved one, someone that will have your best interest until you can financially go it alone. But see, a lot of times what ends up happening is if there's children involved, we become delusional because we think, well, you know what? I'll just eat that because of the sake of the children. You don't want to do that, y'all. Because they're watching how you react and how your behaviors are shown. Because as the caregiver, as the parent, we are their first teachers. Yeah, because they're extensions of you. So you don't want to convey the message of, well, you know, mommy was physically abusive to daddy, or you know, or daddy didn't respect himself, so you know he was womanizing. And here's the thing: if you really think about it, people that cheat because there's something that they lack within themselves that could not be found in the relationship that they chose to be in. Who am I talking to? And that is why we're in the society that we have now. And that is the reason why, Queen, socially, instead of trying to uplift you, they just want to put you out there on the level of the lady that walks the night. I've explained that. That's why your fashion is the same way it is. That's why the behavior is the same. And that is nothing but a ruse. But is it worth those bruises? Is it worth embracing Stockholm Syndrome? Stockholm Syndrome, in a nutshell, is when the victim protects the abuser. You see this all the time. You know, cops come and it's a domestic situation. And instead of allowing the police to protect you, you protect the abuser. And all that does is send a message to the abuser that, oh, I can continue this. No different than staying with a habitual cheater. And most habitual cheaters do it because their self-esteem is low and they feel that it is equal by way of sexual connection. That's why you see a lot of people like to thrill seek. They do a lot of one-night standing until the STDs come. And even in those cases, you have some people that instead of allowing themselves to have what they need, they more or less take on a alter ego or persona to mask the wounds. Yeah, you didn't know that? How do you think that gold digger came to be? She wasn't that little girl wasn't supposed to be that gold digger. It was the products of her environment and what was condoned and the manifestation of those things was incarnated in the behavior of what you see today. So you got to love yourself more, family. You got to do that. And let's flip it on the guys, because of society. Number one, society doesn't want you to think, family. It doesn't. Society puts these false archetypes out there that men do not have emotions. And maybe that's the reason why our families are under siege now, because we're not thinking with this. We're thinking with that. There's nothing wrong with intimacy when you have the right person. But if they don't have a connection with themselves, how can you expect them to have a relationship with you? And you got a lot of people that will just say, no, that's not the case. But you know your wounds. You see your wounds all the time when you look in the mirror. No matter if the bruises are there, the scars are there. because you still are holding yourself hostage from healing. So this goes back to your self-worth. Do you actually think the little boy or the little girl that lives within you, because that person is you, thought that their life was supposed to be this way? That's like someone being loyal to the hood. Why are you loyal to the hood? What has the hood done? When in actuality, the hood don't give a damn about you. It's nothing but a crabs in the barrel mindset to keep you from who and what you need, called your legacy. Now, I know society has a double standard when it comes to men and women, because society promotes men being promiscuous. They applaud that. And then when you embrace the same mindset, they want to label you less than. I'm not going to use the terms because you got one name. I'm not going to spit that out to you. You already seen examples of what goes on in your day to day. Why? Because that's programming that they want for you to hold on to that mindset. Because what's at stake is your perception. The person that controls the perception also controls the direction. So why can't that be you? So now with that being said, let's look at it from a different point of view. Do you actually think you would go through what you're going through if you loved yourself to begin with? Hmm? Do you actually think that it was meant that you were to feel disfranchised or insecure and you're in a relationship? You're not supposed to. That's the byproduct of an unyoked relationship. So now you got to make a decision. Do you want to sustain the pain? Do you want to heal it? If anything, if you're a parent, if you really love yourself, you love them more and you do what you need to do. Because being happy is not a popularity contest. It's not. It's not. And no, you can't drink the pain away, even though they want to promote that. You can't sex the you can't sex the pain away. Can't do that. And you can't run away from you. Because all those things rob you of your essence. That's why you got so many young people today that look so aged out, right? Like their lives have gone through a emotional blender. But then they the first ones to say, well, I don't need no man. Of course not, because the feminist movement is waiting on you. They want you to give up on you. They want you to fall in line and get with Sheila. That's you. That's your life. You do what you do. But at the end of the day, you don't deserve to carry that spiritual backpack with your regret in it. So you got to make a choice. Are you going to love yourself and live? Because if you decide to love yourself and live, guess what's going to come out of that? You're going to grow. And that's what's required for that insight. And that insight is nothing but the parable for wisdom, maturity. Because you saw your mama doing don't mean you supposed to do it. Because you saw your dad not do it doesn't mean that you're supposed to follow in his footsteps. Maybe you are the one that's going to change the trajectory of your family tree. You ever thought about that? Maybe that's the reason why they gravitate to you. Come on now. Each one teach one, right? So let's fast forward. We live in a society now that people want to play this fake big bank take little bank mindset. And what ends up happening is you have the casualty is the children. And what's sad about it is the people that don't have your best interest, how about them pedophiles? How about them predators? They're waiting to catch you slipping. Because if you don't see your value, you can't protect it. So let's go a little deeper. If you remove yourself from the situation, you'll find your sanity. You'll find your clarity. You'll find your strength. You'll change the direction of the cause and effect. That's what the secret is all about, y'all. You know, remember everybody was hyping over the secret? Secret's about manifestation. Manifestation at the lowest level is the spoken word. Why? Because words have power. That's why you always heard people say, be careful what you ask for. You just might get it. Why? Because it resonates in your spirit. That's why we attract the people in our lives, because they are mere reflections of what's found in our spirit, which is also the lessons that we must champion. So what do? You might be in a situation where you have no family support. You don't have no support from your support system, which goes back to this. Why are they there? Why are you given access to people that cannot help you grow? Because guess what? An opportunist does not need your help to expose himself. But what is required is you have the courage to see it. Maybe that was what Maya Angelou was trying to get across when she said, when a person shows you who they are, believe them. But people can change all the time, family. They can. They can be made new. But if they don't have a relationship with God first, which is intimacy, they can have a relationship with you. So right there, that tells you right there, that was a soul tie. And a soul tie is nothing but the opposite of being yoked. And it should not be the reason why you were walking around feeling numb. Because that ain't nothing but the works of them demons. That's just like you hear people say all the time, not knowing the law is no excuse. Well, we're talking about you. So if you don't know you, who's at fault? I watched this story, what was it? Paternity court? Paternity court? It was on, TV was on. And there was a lady on there who was trying to validate that this man was her father. He was not in her life, or she was 41. And she's like, well, he's always been there indirectly. He's like my homeboy. She's like my homeboy. You know, but I know in my heart that's my daddy. But the one thing that was so pivotal about it was she said, because I didn't have you in my life in my formative years, it had an effect on the men I gravitated to. Who am I talking to? Is that not 85% of the female populace today? But why do we not talk about that? Because the truth of the matter is, you got a hole in the shape of your daddy. And if you have the blessing to have access to him, you need to get his knowledge. Because if anything, he's going to at least speak truth to protect you. And isn't that what parents are for? You're not going to like everything that they say. But at a minimum, they should always be transparent to protect you. You came from them. But see, we live in a world where society promotes single parenthood. Yeah, I feel a certain kind of way on that. Because we have some women out there that believe that I can do it by myself. No, queen. You weren't supposed to take the burdens of motherhood by yourself. Mm-mm. That's why you always hear people say it takes a village to raise our young. But if you don't have support that's collective, isn't that the hood? Now, so you got to be honest with yourself, and you need to put the focus back on you. This does not mean that it's just ammunition to play let's get back, because when you choose to take the opportunity and or I'm sorry, if you take a position of, I'm just going to make your life a living hell, you play yourself. You play yourself. Because the fact of the matter is, this person has shown you through behavior they don't see your worth. They don't deserve to walk with you, let alone protect you. If there was value in that bond, why would you hurt? But see, this is also something that men don't talk about. We too busy and pre-absorbed trying to emulate what we see on TV. And that's the reason why we have a shortage of men, fathers, because bad boys usually don't have good dads. But no matter the wound, and depending on how soon divine intervention comes into play, because it will, because the two spiritual gifts you were given was, number one, to unconditionally love yourself, and number two, the gift of free will. So once again, that goes back to what I've said before. You can't make anyone do what they don't want to do, but you can stand there and watch it play out. And as you watch it play out, the little respect they may have had goes with it, because you are basically perpetuating your own pain. It's not your responsibility for them to see it. It's for them to figure it out when you're gone. And if it's divinely meant, you'll see them. But what you won't see is the trials and tribulations that will come with it. Because if you were a good person, if you were genuine, that means you knew what you were doing and you were all in. See, a lot of times, what ends up happening, especially for guys don't tell you this, I'm going to tell you anyway. We will embrace the hype and we will sleep with whoever, whenever, however. You got a heartbeat, we're going to check it. We ain't even got to like you, but we're going to pierce you. That's how they do. A lot of it is based off of environment and as well as emotional growth. And what ends up happening, you grow weary of the routine. That's why clubs make so much money. And you want to get some get right, and you want to walk on a straight and narrow for yourself, because you realize that your life is kind of offset, missing a beat, or there's something more, but really that is really nothing but signatures of your real life is trying to connect with your present situation. That's why it doesn't do you any good to try to have dialogue when you've been hurt. It will never turn out the way you want. Why? Because the wound is still fresh. Now, let's go back to another option you need to focus on. While you are vulnerable, take that experience and cut it in half and identify your role in it. Did you hear what I said? Because you would not feel the effects if you was not there. So that means you got to be honest with yourself. And you have to call it what it is. Was this a bond spawned by lust, or was this love? Because see, you can't kill love, y'all. Love. You can't kill love. Love never dies, it only transforms. Why? Because love is nothing but an example of God's splendor, because you exist. So you take that and you turn it into a positive. Maybe this is the moment you're going to focus on you. Maybe this is the moment that you're going to close the emotional doors so that you can get back to one. Now, this does not give you a pass to be an asshole. But this does give you an opportunity to embrace your transparency. Because you can't heal nothing if you do not acknowledge it exists. And this is something that goes on today and will go on forever as long as man exists. Unfortunately, it doesn't look good for God's greatest gift, which is woman, because you've been under siege for a long time. Even your own gender wants to keep you distracted. I ain't got to tell you, but I know you deserve to be happy. So you take that negative and you make that into the greatest positive ever. Because what you don't realize is going on, you are being forced to make a decision. And the choice cannot be done unless you once again be transparent. So why were you with this person to begin with? Was you with this person because they reminded you of the person that got away? Were you there? Was that person there because of the fact that they were your financial benefactor? Or were they there because you were afraid to be alone? You realize how many people are afraid to live a life by themselves? But some of your greatest growth will occur when you're by yourself. Why? Goes back to what I've always said to you, queens. See, God never asked you to go seek your man out. The devil did. All God asked you to do is prepare for him. And if the work is done, that man will be revealed to your spirit by way of your heart. And that is a requirement of being yoked. You see it all the time. That's why divorce rates are so high. Because 9 times out of 10, it's not forced off of love. It's forced off of opportunity and agenda. So anything that's not blessed can't last. So this goes back to what I've always said. Anything done with man's hands is temporary. Only God's position is forever. So you want the pain to go away? You want the tears to dry up or be transformed into tears of joy, like that Beyonce song, "Best I Never Had" or something. When in actuality, you don't need to listen to that. You need to be listening to me, myself, and I. But you have to own your life. Because see, that person that you're destined to be in the future is like I always say. See, you can't undo that pain that you were exposed to. And let's talk about this. Nothing happens just by chance. It was at that moment in time that you were meant to see that. Now you got to make a choice. You're gonna fight for you. You're gonna fight for your dignity. How about your peace of mind and self-worth? Because those are priceless. Those can't be repeated. They can't be swindled. They can't be controlled. That's why when you have something that you did not earn and you try to hold on to it, it hurts like hell, don't it? Because it's not blessed. Now let's flip it, and I'm going to bring this home. When you remove yourself from the environment, it gives you an opportunity to create a new one. It also gives you opportunity to focus on those things you put on the back burner. How about them gifts, those natural talents that you were given the moment you took your first breath? You think you just got them just by chance? No. Those things are needed so that you can identify your direction. Your direction is going to take you to your purpose. That's why a lot of people don't even understand why they're on this planet. I'm just here to breed. What's going on breeding if there's no love? Hmm? But just know this, King. The one, she's there. She's out there. But you can't get to her as long as you keep running from yourself. But little Sally Mae, she'll gladly rob you of your seed, your time, and your money. Did you hear me? Queen, good guys exist. Hmm. But until you decide to change your viewpoint, you ain't going to see them. That's why That's why the world, you outnumber men. It's like 12-1 now. Why? You notice there's a decline in men. Why? But there's even a shorter line when it comes to spiritual ones. See, a spiritual man understands the responsibility to walk with you because he knows that he's going to bring the keys that's going to unlock the other side of your house, underside, the other side, the other side of your life. So he understands that when God reveals you to him, at a minimum, he's there to walk with you and enhance your growth, not enable you. Now, granted, there's nothing more beautiful than a woman. Oh no, you are God's gift. That's why Adam's rib was given to Eve, the creator. But how can you build anything without foundation? So everybody has to play their part. Everybody. So why are you running from you? Why? Because of your pride? Because of what your girlfriend told you? Oh, you don't need him. Yeah, but look at her life. She doing the same thing. But she won't heal her wounds. And she's praying that you won't do the same thing. Why? Because misery loves company. Which you need to look at. Y'all been tight over 20 years, but y'all still not growing. The body counts are going up. The setbacks are always consistent. And the denial is ever present. What you don't want to do is end up squandering your time and you end up being in your 70s. And you're looking back at your life and saying, damn, I swindled myself. Because it doesn't matter how you feel about them. Because I'm going to tell you what, they're going to miss you when you're gone. Oh, yeah, they'll miss you. Doesn't matter who in their life. Does not matter. And depending on the intended time and moment, God will always reveal all for you to see and validate why. So it depends on which side of the fence you want to be on and what you're willing to experience. So the only way to free yourself from them shackles is you got to speak your truth. And the only way you're going to be able to speak your truth is you have to be transparent. Therefore, you must be honest and ground on feet. Now, the real question should be is, how much pain are you willing to endure? Because that's what Erica spoke about when she wrote Bag Lady. Because the eyes are the window of the soul. So, Mary, why do you weep? Is it because you're afraid to love you? Because until you decide to make those changes, everything you went through was in vain. God's praying for you. You know I am. I see your work. And for that, it helps me discern mine. They ain't your friend. That was just an opportunity to expose themselves. And this year is all about real recognizes real. This does not give you a campaign to be eye for an eye, because that's what the devil wants you to do. So stay grounded, stay focused, and watch what God shows you. Be blessed.